Hey, good morning. It's early. It's Thanksgiving Day. I've got a question for you. Would you like to hear more about the topic I'm going to preview right now? Could you leave me a comment and let me know if you'd like to hear more? Here we go. It's Thanksgiving Day. Here's my little title, because I like titles. Hey, you got some ID? Or, can I see some ID, please? We're gonna need to see some ID. Those are things we often hear, and what we do is we pull the ID out of our pocket and we show our ID. What if you didn't have an ID? What if you didn't have the little card or the little paper or the passport or what if you didn't have any ID? What if you struggled to find that passport or that birth certificate? What if you didn't know how to get it? What if you didn't have the funds to figure it out or to request that birth certificate or even know where to start or have a computer to look it up on or a credit card to pay for it with? What if you didn't have an address or a home, place to live? What if you didn't have a roof over your head and you didn't have an ID? Does that mean you're not who you say you are? What if you then could say you're somebody different? How is anybody going to prove it? How are you going to prove that's who you are? Yesterday, here in Phoenix, Arizona, we visited a homeless, they didn't call it a shelter, they called it the campus. And we had a tour from a friend and colleague of my sister's who works for this organization. I think it's called Homeless ID. Here's my question for you. At the end of the tour, we were talking about how we could help. We wanted to help. How can we help? And outreach or publicity would help them. Well, I just hit 100,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel, and I have a top 10 podcast in the world. I think I can help with that. So I offered them to come onto my show and do a little interview and talk about the Homeless ID Project. And it'd probably be good if I get the name right by then. But these two guys, Rick and Chris, they're on the board, or they work there. I'm not totally sure what their roles are, but they run this thing or co-run this thing. And it's basically, they help homeless people get an ID. And if you can just imagine for a moment not having an ID and not having your birth certificate, or in the U.S. your social security card, and not only that, but not having access to getting it or to digging it up, or and going to whatever the Social Security Administration or the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles, or whatever it's called in your state or your country. And what if you just don't have that? Your pockets are literally empty. You might not have money. You probably don't have an ID. And they said how it's a huge problem for the ones who they want to get a job or they want to get a place to live, and they can't identify themselves, at least from this administrative perspective of having an ID. It really struck me when you just think you got that little card in your pocket or in your wallet or in your purse, and yeah, that's my ID. And that's how I identify. I'm Bradley Charbonneau. I can prove it. Here's my I have a U.S. driver's license. I have a Dutch driver's license. I've got a U.S. passport. I've got a Dutch passport. I have all kinds of IDs. And yet these people we saw yesterday, they don't have any ID. And That's the mission of this organization. So let me know in the comments if you'd like me to, or if you'd be. I'm gonna do it, so I'm gonna interview these guys. But just let me know if that's interesting to you. And I told them that my project, especially the Now What project, I like to interview people who not only help themselves but who help others, who have reached a level in the trifecta of villain to hero to guide, because the villains are kind of stuck and the heroes are unstuck, and yet then the guides help other villains to become heroes, and eventually to help the heroes become the guides, because the guides are the enlightened ones. The guides are at the level where their mission, their purpose is to serve, is to help, is to aid, is to teach, is to lift up, is to inspire, is to... You get the idea. Hey, you got some ID? It's a joke we say when you're in your 20s, especially here in the States, to prove that you can drink alcohol, right? That you're over 21. Hey son, can I see some ID? Or you're driving a car and the police or something, you need to see some ID, sir. Or you're entering an administrative building, or you're at the bank, or you're at the football game, or you need to prove that you are who you are. And yet, what if you don't have an ID? It really struck me yesterday, and today being Thanksgiving, I'm thankful that I have an ID, and I would like to share the story of these two guys who are involved in this project, this homeless ID project. Okay, that's enough. Let me know in the comments if this is a topic that you're interested in, and if you'd like me to interview more people like this, people who change the world, people who change other people one at a time. You know, when you talk about changing the world, it's so cliche. I'm going to change the world. Except all we really need to do is to first change ourselves, and then and only then can we change others and help others. When we get to the point where we are at the level of guide, and we can then lead and aid and teach and motivate and inspire others. So that's my aspiration, is to achieve the level of guide where I can help others. And frankly, that's where I am right now in my YouTube channel and podcast, because then I can help others help others. All right. Thanks for listening, and happy Thanksgiving. It happens to be a Thursday here, and it happens to be Thanksgiving. I am unfathomably grateful today. Well, for one reason is because I've got an ID. Happy Thanksgiving. See you next week.